the United States Constitution and all of your constitutional rights. Michigan DUI lawyer, I wanted to go a little off the beaten path today and talk about this fascinating article that appeared in The Atlantic yesterday. Professor Eric Mueller from North Carolina. Hold on. Mustache here. Just a second. There we go. There's the article. And in this article, Professor Mueller discusses how in the 19th century, if an attorney sat down trying to interpret the Constitution using what is called originalism, which is where our U.S. Supreme Court, some of the justices, try to interpret the words and phrases that are contained in the Constitution by going back to what the Founding Fathers meant when they used a specific word. And he uses a case example that he discusses in this article. Check it out if you get a chance. But in the 19th century, lawyers did not have access to constitutional law books or to any of the historical records. Professor Mueller, who teaches constitutional law and criminal procedure and legal history at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, points out that you might not have been able to get a copy of Madison's notes on the debates regarding the Federal Convention in 1787. Even well-established law libraries did not have copies of this journal regarding the proceedings at the convention by John Quincy Adams. And yet the Internet Archives even has copies of the debates of the several state conventions regarding the federal Constitution. This book was unheard of or inaccessible to most lawyers in the 19th century. And Google has a copy of General Principles on Constitutional Law by Justice Thomas Cooley, who was a famous Michigan Supreme Court justice. He points out that lawyers might travel a day or two by horse and buggy to get copies of at least one of these documents so that they could try to perform research if they were going to try and take some originalist perspective for the interpretation of the U.S. Constitution in a brief submitted to the U.S. Supreme Court, right? But my research went even further. I was able to find free copies of Oliver Wendell Holmes' The Common Law, Blackstone's commentaries, which deal with the common law, copies of Magna Carta, U.S. Constitution. All of these things are available at our fingertips, and yet there are so many people out there that have no appreciation for this history or to research the things. Instead, you'll hear a lot of people arguing about what Magna Carta says, even though they've never read it, or the common law and how we need to return to the common law. You hear that all the time. And yet people, they readily have this information available at their fingertips, but they don't read Blackstone's commentaries to see how the common law actually operated. All this stuff is available for us to read nowadays. And I got to credit Professor Mueller. This was a